I can't see you all, but we can get started, and I apologize for the delay. Okay, so is
The
do
absence
we have
of
a quorum?
wait.
Yes.
We have a quorum? Okay. Okay, so welcome to the January 19th, 2021 meeting of the Community Relations Committee. We would like to thank Easthampton Media for recording tonight's meeting. All past meetings of the Community Relations Committee can be found on our city website for viewing at any time. For the benefit of those of you who are joining us from the community, I would like to start this meeting by sharing our committee's mission statement. Our mission is to promote positive relations throughout Easthampton's diverse population. We will work to build a sense of inclusion, community, and pride, where community members feel welcome, accepted, and valued. And we'll begin tonight's meeting with a roll call. Rebecca Passa.
Present.
Patty Dougherty.
Here.
Emily Britton.
Here.
Margaret Kirstein.
Present.
Mary Lou Splain.
Here.
Alyssa O'Leary.
Present.
Jan Norman.
Here.
Myra Oyedemi.
Here.
Gabby Stevenson.
Here.
Deborah Lusnia, present. Okay, great. Everyone's here. Thank you. Okay, next up is approval of the minutes from our meeting on December 15th. Do we have a motion to approve or any comments or recommendations or suggestions for change?
I'd just like to make clear that I sent a proposed draft a little early, and then this morning I sent an updated draft. So I wanted to mention that, hoping that people had a chance to find that today. So I do believe what we would want to do is vote on the latest update, which was sent today.
Okay. And what were the differences or the changes, Rebecca? Can you summarize what the difference between the two were?
Paragraph 7 was updated. Paragraph 7 was about the report of the forum committee. So there was just some language change that was proposed by the committee members, which I think was perfectly appropriate. So I just hope people got a chance to see that.
I just have one, Rebecca, there was one typo.
Okay.
Under number 5, you have his remarks, that beginning sentence, and I think you wanted to put in his remarks. I think the N is just missing.
I think you're absolutely right. So I am adding the N. This is paragraph 5. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 lines from the bottom of the paragraph at the end. In his remarks, Attorney Clifford.
Yeah.
So if those seem acceptable to everyone, then I'd make a motion to approve the minutes as updated just now with the changes to paragraph 7 and adding the N to the word in section 5.
So we have a motion to approve. Any other comments, suggestions? Do we have a second to that motion?
I second the motion to move the minutes with amendments.
Okay, I think that sounds like Myra.
Yes.
So, okay, we have a motion. It's been seconded. All those in favor?
I think we have to go through
the list. Yes. Okay, I'm looking for my list of my. Okay, Rebecca Passa.
Yes.
Patty Dougherty.
Yes.
Emily Britton.
Yes.
Margaret Kirstein.
I wasn't at the meeting on the 15th, so I approved them, but I wasn't there.
Okay, so we'll consider that a vote in favor. Okay. Mary Lou Splain.
Yes.
Alyssa O'Leary.
Abstain.
Okay. Jan Norman.
Yes.
Myra Oyedemi.
Yes.
Gabby Stevenson.
Yes.
Yes, and I also vote to approve. Okay, very good. So we have one abstention. All right, thank you very much. And thank you, Rebecca, for doing all of that. Also, thank you for sending out the most recent email message with our link and minutes attached to it. That's really helpful. Thank you.
It's my pleasure, and I'm always appreciative of people reviewing those, so I appreciate the proposed change. Thank you.
Okay.
Which was given to me earlier. Thank you.
Okay. So next up is correspondence or announcements. And the only thing that I was just going to say that was communicated to, I'm trying to think, actually, it maybe was not communicated to the whole committee. So the only thing I want to announce is that our agenda was modified to not to take out what we had hoped to talk about, which was our meeting, where Patty and I were going to be meeting with the Department of Justice people and wanted to report back to you on all of that. And unfortunately, we weren't able to schedule that meeting with them until Friday this week. So we have a meeting on Friday at 2:30 with these people, and so we're not able to report on it, obviously, tonight, but we will plan to do that at our next meeting. So our agenda was modified to take that off of it. So I just wanted to comment on that. Okay, so next up on the agenda is public speech.
Sorry, can I make an announcement?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Is that Myra?
Yes, sorry. You know what? Because you can't see me, I'm going to state my name before each case. And sometimes I watch the meetings on YouTube. So if you're not able to join, maybe you can double task and you can see people's faces.
Okay. Okay, on YouTube.
Right.
Okay.
Easthampton Media.
Oh, okay. I could try that.
But I would say it isn't live streamed. It's posted later.
Oh, it's not. Yeah, that's
Oh, okay. Some of them are live, not in our case.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I confess that I'm a bit tired, and I just wanted to make some announcements and in recognition of some events that are happening, some historical events. So because I'm kind of on the exhausted side, I took time to jot them down so I don't get them jumbled. So here we go. This is some announcements. So here we go. With all that's going on in the country, I wanted to encourage us as a committee to be timely and relevant. As a committee, we have the potential to demonstrate meaningful dialogue and potentially model communication that acknowledges and transcends differences. Tomorrow, we will witness a historic inauguration of the first woman to be vice president, the first Black, the first South Asian American woman, Kamala Harris. And this represents a ceiling shattering and a manifestation of dreams and countless women, girls, and civic pave makers and people of color. And also, I'd like to acknowledge yesterday was Martin Luther King Day, and it was a time of deep reflection and also a time of deep reckoning. And the quote that stuck with me yesterday and reverberates through me was, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in times of challenge and controversy." So gender specifics aside, as we know it's a more gender inclusive society now, I'd like us to maybe reflect on some of those words. And as we work tonight, I'd like to challenge us to move out of the comfortable and the palatable in terms of wording and work in common understanding that we work based in the community issues, issues of racism, issues of racial healing, issues of inequity and dehumanization, and camps of division where we see each other as other. This concludes my time.
Thank you, Myra. That was nice.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you
you. I
very
think it was really important to highlight these issues and acknowledge the moment in time in which we're existing. Thank you, Myra.
Thank you, Myra.
I'd welcome it.
Any other?
Anyone has any other comments or reflections as a committee or individuals?
No other comments? It's hard when I can't see you all. Okay.
Well, I'm not that prepared to announce this, but I was going to share it to you. On Martin Luther King Jr. Day was a first in a series on PBS called Race, Amity, and the Other Tradition. And the first episode is actually going to be re-aired, but in terms of the details, I was aware of it on the Boston PBS, but it is on New England Public Media as well. Without having it in front of me, I would just encourage people to look on their schedule for Race Amity, and what it's going to share is some historic facts about people working together. And I recently let the committee know of some of my attendance at events, and I just today discovered that I won the door prize, and so I have a DVD right here. It's the Maggie Lena Walker story, America's first female bank president, a woman of color. So I'm thinking to figure out a time to have a movie night and share this. So along with what you've said, Myra, I personally have, race amity. The amity means a lot to me, and I'm a leader that used to live in Amherst. He passed away at age 95 after spearheading race amity issues as Ray Elliott of Amherst, Massachusetts. And, through him, I knew of the first film, Race, Amity, and the Other Tradition. I also own a copy of that. But anyway, overall, I would encourage people to check New England Public Media for that schedule. And thank you. Thank you for bringing that up, Myra, and allowing for this type of announcement. One other thing I just wanted to bring up before closing the announcement section. Now that we have our email address, we receive various things that come to us as a city committee. So I wasn't sure whether we would want to share a press release from the mayor, January 12th, 2021, entitled Easthampton Mayor Decries Attacks on the U.S. Capitol and Cities as Incited Insurrection. Would we like to... Shall I read that? I think what I did was share it with the co-chairs. I'm not sure I shared it with the committee. Okay. So
Yeah, I think you did share with the committee.
Oh, did I? Did I? Well, if I did,
Yeah.
good. Would you like me to read it, or did you all have a chance to read that?
I had a chance to read it. I actually did have something to say in regards to that I think that we as a committee should make our own statement, that we should, as a committee, should condemn the insurrection from January 6th. And we should be, and I think when we make that statement, while I appreciate the mayor's attempt at a statement, it didn't feel personal to Easthampton. And I would like our statement to be personal to Easthampton. And I would like it to reflect that these, this white supremacy, this racism, and this insurrection is not a reflection of the values that we as a committee uphold. So I do think that this is an important, I agree with you, Rebecca, that this is something important to bring up, but I think there's a part of that we should own as well, because as the Community Relations Committee, we should also be making these statements. And I think this kind of goes back to Myra's challenge about getting out of her comfort zone that she reflected on with Martin Luther King's quote.
Yeah, I'm wondering if, when we want to make a statement, we are able to do it quickly and all vote on it via email, I'd like to think we can do that.
We can't vote on anything via email. Can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think one challenge that we have as a public committee is this open meeting law and the fact that something like that we'd need to put on the agenda. But maybe I would suggest And I see your hand, Gabby. So I'd love to do it quickly, but at least we could do it. It might be a little delayed, but go ahead, Gabby.
I was going to say that, yeah, I understand that there's that barrier of open meeting laws, but I think if you look at the city council packet for this week, like they include these sort of like resolutions normally. So it might be something good for us as a committee to start thinking about. Like, if this happens, like maybe, you know, Deb will email Patty and be like, hey, Patty, can you and Margaret get together to write this statement? And then it'll be read and approved during the next meeting. Like, I mean, I don't know what processes you guys have set up for this and assigning these sort of tasks, but
Yeah, I think we could have one or two people just draft a statement and then basically share it with the group for review and approval. And, you know, maybe a word tweak here or there, it may be approved completely on its own. I mean, just as is. But yeah, just to have one or whoever's passionate, most, you know, whoever wants to take responsibility for it and draft a statement with the idea of it being complete. That's how we should do it.
I think that sounds great. That if a couple people volunteer tonight, we can have it on the agenda, and then we would have a proposal already. That'd be wonderful.
We could do that. I think we just, as a committee, we just need to be careful that we aren't taking, it has to be handled very carefully so that we aren't taking any kind of sides in any given issue, that we're just, we just have to be really careful that we're being reflective of the entire community. And representing the entire community. That's all I have to say. Like, that we have to come from the perspective of representing the entire community. So as long as we can do that, I think it's fine.
I'm not sure exactly what that means, but I think we exist because we are wanting to, you know, take a stand against racism and all sorts of, you know, yeah. Don't you think we would be able to simply speak about that and, you know, against violence and all the other bad behaviors that occurred? I mean,
Yeah,
I don't think we need to represent our whole community. We are representing what we believe as a community relations committee, right?
Well, I'm just wanting us to keep in mind, like, our mission of bringing people together. Like, our mission is to promote positive relations and build a sense of inclusion, community, where everyone's feel welcome, accepted, valued, just with that in mind. When I'm probably not using the right words, but just to make sure that we are approaching it with that in mind, that our goal is to bring people together. Our goal is healing. Our goal is creating a better sense of community. And as long as we're doing it with that in mind, I think it's fine. I think it's good.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, having a better situation in terms of fair treatment of all citizens is best for the community. So as we're wording this, and I suppose, I mean, I tend to be more busy than I should be, but I could volunteer to have the conversation because I do care a lot about bringing the community together and finding some words to try to maybe at least reach those paying attention to say, this is better for everyone. You know, I mean, I'm going to say I'm more for call in rather than call out. Mm-hmm. Of course, criminals have to be arrested. There is no question about that. But if we can change hearts or encourage people to realize that the good treatment of one is the good treatment of all, you know, and how important these are in somehow in an encouraging, inclusive way, that I think that it would be fabulous.
Sounds good.
Can Okay, it's going to be a little hard for me to get my thoughts together on it. Rebecca, I also tend to take on a little bit too much, but I'd be willing to work with you on those wording. But I also just want to say that there's some things as a committee who was founded in issues of racism and racial healing, and such as the findings of the Spirit Report, that there are certain things and behaviors that we should be able to outright denounce as being harmful. And I think we should have that in mind. I am not afraid to say when I feel something is wrong or when something is innately founded in white supremacy. I think we can call a thing a thing. I'm not sure how many hearts and minds that we do change, but I do think as a committee tasked with our task that we should be able to commit to the fundamentals of the group, that in the manner that it was founded.
Mm-hmm.
Glad you mentioned that, because I also think that some things need to be mentioned. No one needs to be criticized. Rebecca, you mentioned, criminals need to be, but criminals we can also reach or connect with. And same thing with what you're talking about, Myra. The behaviors, we need to discuss those. We need to be honest about those things. However, in a way and in a manner where we can still, reach across that bridge to each other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead.
As you've all been talking, I've been doing a little writing. This is not, the last word, but if we want to come out with a statement, since we're all here right now, it can be added to. But we find the behaviors of the seditionists in Washington, D.C. on 1/6/21 to be rife with violence, hate, and racism. The CRC finds this behavior to be abhorrent and denounces it as being harmful to our society, Easthampton, our democracy. Done. Something short, to the point. It's 2 sentences. So,
So it might not have to be so complicated as some are worried about. It could be pretty quick, because about criminals, you see, that's what that was, right? We can agree on that.
But here we are right now, and if we want to make a statement, then, again, this doesn't have to be the statement, but it's a good enough statement. And I don't know. I mean, in terms of doing something in relation to our community, if we want to take action in this way, we can.
Margaret, thank you. I appreciate that. I think what you said was really good. And I think this doesn't, just a public statement, it doesn't, I think what you said covers a lot of probably what we're all feeling. I know some people, are feeling different things, but I think, yeah, like 2 sentences. And I think those were great words. And I think it reflects some of what I heard other people say. I think Gabby had a great line as well.
I took it as best I could. I didn't start writing it, but from definitely what Myra said at the very end. I mean, that last sentence is basically what you said, Myra, but anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm just thinking what the issue is, what would be the form that we would put out this statement?
Yeah.
On our website? I'm just curious.
About the website and the newspaper.
Newspaper, okay.
Facebook.
All of it. Maybe, even the city's internal email, just like the mayor did. And if it's a press release, that is newspaper. And Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of clarifying that proposal, Margaret, oh gosh, is there any time in the week? Well, let's see, in the month.
As I could type it into the chat here and people could, we could
Well,
fix.
we actually, we don't have a chat here because it
Oh,
just isn't, the settings aren't there, and I think it's because of public meeting law. So
Yeah.
I think if we're fewer than a quorum, like if it's Myra and Margaret and I, that's 3. Are we willing to touch base just to firm that up? You know, I'm not sure when, but I mean, I could start it off just emailing the 2 of you and saying, when do you want to touch base?
That sounds like a good plan.
All right.
And that way it's less than a quorum, and we'll just, probably have something very similar for the next time that we can vote
Do
on.
we want to do this the next time, or do we want to do it tonight? Do we want to wait till February, whatever day?
Well, we didn't notice this for a vote, so we haven't properly noticed the public. That's a problem.
You're right, you're right.
So can I ask a question about procedure? Can we not ever vote on anything unless the public is invited, like unless it's an open meeting?
Yeah, the public may want to come and
Correct.
public speak and comment on our vote.
Correct.
They can
Like, we
do that
can't-
next time. They can do, why can't we make a decision? This came out of announcements, which was on the agenda.
Right.
I don't know, it just seems like this is legitimately part of what CRC might want to do.
That's where I'm going to lean on Deb, because Deb has
Yeah.
some experience.
I don't think we can't vote on something like that wasn't on the agenda. Even though it came out of announcements, that we can't, I don't think we can do that. I don't think we can vote on that.
So then
today.
can we choose to have a meeting in 1 week and a few of us show up, and then that quorum and the only agenda item is voting on this letter, and then we approve it, and it's a 15-minute meeting, and then it goes out?
Yeah, we can do that, but it has to be a regular meeting. Yeah, if we have a regular meeting in a week, we could do that if we wanted to, yeah. We just have to have enough time to, the required number of hours to post the agenda in advance of the meeting, but.
And that's
We can.
Thursday before a Tuesday?
Correct.
Well, I would get the agenda to the city for a Thursday. In theory, our next regular meeting would only be in 2 weeks.
Right.
I have conflicts on 2 Tuesdays a month, so.
Right.
So I think I agree with Emily. I was having the same thought. I think waiting 2 weeks seems like just so long, considering, the moment in time, like we referred to in the meeting. I think if we committed to having a very short meeting, and that was the only thing,
Right.
I could swing that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah,
I
and
could too. If it's at 6 and it doesn't run long, then that works. I'm sorry,
Right.
go
And
ahead.
if we get the letter sent out ahead of time, right?
So are we talking about the 26th, next Tuesday?
And I'm also curious, so there's 10 of us on the committee now. So if, let's say, only 4 people show, can we, and all 4 people vote? No, it's got to be
1, 2, 3,
5.
4, 5,
It's
6.
got to be 6 people at that meeting, or it's not just the
Yeah.
quorum of who shows up to the meeting?
No, we have to have a quorum of the whole
Okay.
committee. Yeah,
Okay.
right. We have
If
to have
it's
a
for
quorum of the
15
whole
minutes, I
committee.
can attend.
Yeah, me too.
I'll also attend. I think this this is Myra speaking. So I think it also makes steps to making us timely and relevant. So I really appreciate those
Right.
suggestions.
And if
So,
anything
okay.
happens at the inauguration, obviously, then we could add that to the letter, right?
Well, as long as
I want to ask if in the future, this happened on a Wednesday, if we can get together just right after these big events, these marked events,
Mhm.
that we do it that way. So we still,
we still need to get the agenda. We can't just have a meeting. We have to have an agenda, and it has to be posted for a certain amount of time before.
Right,
Of days in advance. Yeah.
right.
No, I
I
guess,
understand that.
right. I mean, I suppose we could have said on the 7th, like said that day, that on the 7th, Rebecca, send an agenda in for next Tuesday or whatever. So we would be, still always be a few days out.
Right, right.
Well, so it may be, and maybe it's just, you know, I'm sort of routinely doing agendas without having my wits about me. But certainly somebody could propose an agenda item. So let's say, you know, so this happened on the 6th, right? If I had been attentive enough, I should have proposed it for the agenda because then it would be on there, right? That's another way that if something happens, of course, now if we meet Tuesday and it's after the inauguration, perfect. But if something then comes up before the agenda has been noticed, it's at least worth writing to the committee, I think, and saying, what do you think of adding whatever this is to the agenda? And we could then, I think the chairs take a look at that and see if that sounds like okay, but that's I think a strategy of acting faster.
Yep.
And we're still learning this, you know, it's
Yeah.
as things go.
Yeah, any one of you could send something saying, hey, is this something we can, and you know, obviously we want to be, you know, use some care in deciding that, because we don't want to be doing emergency meetings, you know. I personally would have, you know, thought if somebody had done that, I think it would have been a good thing to meet about. But I think we want to just be, you know, careful not to do it all the time. Hopefully things like that aren't going to happen all the time. Yeah, so I think we need to move along here. I apologize. I think this is a great conversation. I think we came up with some really good thoughts. Is there any final thoughts on, you know, on this, or on moving a little quicker on things, and then we could move on to the next thing?
Just real quickly, I'm wondering if maybe it's possible for maybe Rebecca, if this is not too much of a lift, like maybe you can say like, hi, I'm going to send the agenda to the city on X date. If you have any agenda items to add, please email me by Y. So that way we all know, because I'm not really sure when you send the agenda to the city. So that way it's also on our radar that you have your deadline, then we'll have our known deadline if we want to like add something like this for next time.
Okay. So I'll have to do better with my calendar, but good point. So I should put it on my calendar for Monday. I think to propose the draft to everybody, perhaps.
I send that to you. Rebecca, shall I send what I wrote down to you?
Oh, sure. I'm happy to have that. And maybe if we're meeting, I mean, maybe the question between Myra and you and I is whether if we're meeting Tuesday anyway, do we want to touch base in between, or would we all just discuss it Tuesday, since what Margaret said was really quite good and we could, I don't know. Maybe we're trying to keep the meeting at 15 minutes though. So anyway, maybe send it to me and Myra. What if you send it to me and Myra? How about that? Thank you.
And I have a quick question. Can Patty or Deb summarize the procedure for getting something on the agenda? Like all we have to do is send it to Rebecca and it gets on the agenda, or do you need to approve it first? Okay, so then we would need to know by when you need to see it.
The co-chairs are supposed to set the agenda, or the chair of a committee is supposed to set the agenda for a meeting. So, but of course, we're always open to suggestions, requests, all of that. So, yeah, I mean, anyone could just send it, and then what we've been doing is just working with Rebecca, and she's put together a draft, and then Patty and I have said, okay, but can we add this and take this out, and can we revise this, whatever, and she makes the changes, and she's been submitting it. So, So yeah, I just think if any point in time anyone has anything they'd like to see on the next agenda or a future agenda, just to send it in an email to Patty, Rebecca, and I.
Okay.
Yeah, so my
it's
process.
It's
Go ahead.
probably pretty unlikely that you would say something couldn't be on the agenda, since we're all supposed to be equal members of the committee, right?
So
We need to just balance time too, so that we don't have outrageously long meetings. So that's one issue. As you know, basically we're always trying to just to not have 3-hour long meetings, but to be reasonable in what we're trying to tackle at any given point in time.
So you guys are the ones prioritizing the agenda?
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
So you two are prioritizing how the agenda goes? Okay.
So if I may say something, my process is we have a meeting, and then if I'm really on the ball, shortly after this meeting, I would be doing draft minutes and a draft agenda. The minutes I send to all of you, the agenda I send to the chairs, and then they tend to respond. They say, let's change this. My thought is that early on, if somebody had a proposal, I would just put it on the draft. And maybe what you're saying is maybe Monday before it's due the following Thursday, if I sent a reminder to people, it would be helpful, right? That if on a Monday before I need to, that it needs to be finalized, if I sent a reminder that the draft agenda exists and is going to be finalized on Thursday, then you could either maybe copy the co-chairs and me, just so that we make sure that the co-chairs see it and that it's on what the final is. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so we have a plan. We're all set. Margaret, Myra, Rebecca, you got a plan?
Yes.
And out of this, we're deciding we're going to meet next Tuesday night. Is that right?
At 6.
Yeah,
6 o'clock?
and actually what that means, so that's only hopefully a one agenda item thing. But so the agenda for Tuesday is due Thursday morning. So we're already past Monday of the, but I think it's only a one agenda thing. So maybe I'd say if something comes up before Thursday morning.
No, we're only this is the only thing we're talking about Tuesday, so it's the only thing that's going to be on the agenda.
Okay, except that we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Anyway, yeah, never mind. But yeah,
we can tackle
Okay, well,
when we get to it.
yeah. And we'll get to this at the end of the meeting, but I was hoping that we would get back to our first Tuesday of the month schedule. So the following week, I was thinking we'd have a regular meeting anyway, the following Tuesday. But we'll talk about that at the end. Okay, are we ready to move on? I can't see your faces.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, we'll move to the public speak portion of our meeting. At this time, any member of the public is welcome to speak to the committee. If you'd like to speak, use the raise your hand feature by selecting the participants option at the bottom of your screen, then click raise hand at the bottom of the participants window. If you're dialing in by phone only, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. Please remain on mute until you're called, at which point you can unmute yourself. When it's your turn to speak, we'll ask you to state your name and the address of your residence before addressing the committee. I would also like to remind everyone that the members of the committee cannot respond to comments made during public speak. We ask that you remain respectful and direct your comments only to the committee members. There will be a 3-minute time limit for those who wish to speak. Is anyone interested in addressing the committee?
Louise Jacob, I'm going to unmute her now. Unmute. There we go.
Okay. First, I'd just like to say, can you hear me? It's a bit old.
yes,
Yes.
Thanks.
yes.
Okay.
And I need to put down who you are and at least your ward. Yeah, thank you.
I'm about to, but I just want to say before I forget that raise hand, because I couldn't find it. It's not under participants anymore. It is now under reactions. Just my public service for the day. My name is Louise Jacob, and I live in Ward 3, and I've lived here for 3 years. And what I wanted to speak about was an incident that happened at your December meeting But first, because you raised it tonight, I wanted to say that the recording of that last meeting is still not up at Easthampton Media. I contacted them because I wanted to review it, so I knew what I was talking about. They have to wait for City Hall, in quotes, to forward it. So I don't know if the chair or something can try to pursue that. I actually have the name. And I mean, just that you should be aware as a committee. It seems to be very haphazard which meetings go up when are forwarded to them. Anyway, so what I want to talk about, it's a very small incident, and certainly in terms of what Myra said tonight and last week's violence in your statement, it's small, but it was upsetting to me. It seemed a bit symptomatic in a way of Easthampton, and so I'm taking my 3 or remaining 2 minutes. And that would be the discussion about how the old timers here resent and dislike specifically New Yorkers. And that would be the explanation of people on this committee of why they don't like New Yorkers. Not just newcomers, but apparently New Yorkers, apparently people from New York do this and that and whatever. And if you hadn't guessed, yes, I'm from New York. And it was very hard to hear, and it was also hard because Easthampton can be a very unwelcoming place to newcomers. I mean, there's a lot of young people here. It's a lot more open-minded, but at the same time, I'm an old lady. I have some mobility issues. I'm at the stage of life where I've interacted with the town hall. I've had to tried to interact with the senior center, and both. It's that old-timer thing, the unwelcoming towards if you're new, if you're slightly different, if you don't already know the way things are always done here and all that. And it was hard to hear somebody on this committee side kind of justifying that. So I was born in New York, and I just found necessary to say I was born in New York. I grew up there in the Statue of Liberty, and I'm actually proud of that. It's a city that welcomes diversity. It's a city that opens its arms to all newcomers. And to be honest, I think it's got some things to offer that maybe Easthampton could consider. I tried to do notes, but it was just maybe it was worse because of the isolation and all, but it was a hard thing to hear, so I wanted to respond to it. Thank you.
Louise, we aren't normally supposed to comment after public speak, but I just want to say on behalf of the committee that I know that no member of our committee would ever have intentionally meant to say anything disparaging about any group of people or where anybody's from or anything disparaging whatsoever. And so I sincerely apologize on behalf of the entire committee if that was misinterpreted or at any point in time, and that would never, ever be our intention. And we welcome everyone, and we're grateful for all of our fellow Easthampton residents, and our goal is to make everyone feel comfortable and welcome and part of our community and supported. And so I just want to make that statement that we would never, ever want to hurt anyone's feelings or say anything negative whatsoever about any group of people from anywhere at any time. So I just wanted to just follow up with that one statement. And thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. We appreciate that.
I just also want to add that we also should not be dismissive of how Louise feels. And I think, again, going back to the Martin Luther King quote that Myra stated in the beginning of this meeting, like this is a great time for us to reflect on the words we use, the way we frame things, and what was said. So I don't think it's just simply saying that we never intended to do this, because as we know, intentions don't matter when this is the result. So I think we should be very careful about that and maybe use this as a point of reflection as ourselves as a committee.
Okay, thank you, Gabby. Okay, well,
and I'd like to add a remark too, if I may. This is Rebecca.
Yeah.
Is that all right? Yeah.
Go ahead, yes.
You know what? I would like to own what I said, and overall, there are various voices that I hear and that I'm listening to. And at least personally, when I'm thinking of how to reach people, that's where I'm listening so that I think, okay, what are the fears? What are the concerns? And what can bring, let's say, what can warm up the hostility and what can solve the problem? So I'm sure, I realize I didn't frame it well because I perceived that, but I didn't mean to say that I personally don't appreciate New York, because I certainly do. And it might be that there's a further conversation. I mean, I'd love to talk further with Myra and Margaret, and there's a video I would like to show also. That's called How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love Discussing Race. What I'd like is for us to get to where we can encourage the community to love discussing race. So I'd like to own my remarks because I parroted some things that I had heard, and they are concerning. So I understand that Louise is certainly justified in her concern, and I didn't, let's say, eloquently make my remarks, and I apologize.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you. Okay, would anyone else like to address the committee? Does it seem as though
There's
we're all
no one
set?
else. There is
Okay.
no one else.
All right, thank you. Okay, we'll consider this the end of public speak, and we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is our forum subcommittee updated proposal, next steps, et cetera. So I'll turn that over to our subcommittee at this time.
Deb, I just need to jump in here. I have my day tomorrow is just incredibly overbooked. And my intention was to try to have to step off because I have some things I have to prepare for the morning.
Yep.
My intention was to try and leave by 7. Obviously, that hasn't happened. So I have the forum proposal to share. Is there somebody I can send this to? Emily had shared it with me, so I could share it on my screen. I will hang in here as long as I can, but I'm not. 7:30 is absolutely the end of when I can be at this meeting tonight. I really apologize, but I'm really in the thick of it right now. Can I share it with Rebecca? Do you know how to share a document on your computer?
Yes. Do I know how to share screen? Yes.
Okay.
So,
it's in a Google Doc.
okay.
All right.
Yes, I can go to Google Docs. So is there a link or?
I'll send it to you.
Okay. Yeah.
So hang on one second.
I also think many of us may have a lot going on tomorrow, so it would be great to end at 7:30. And if we're going to be having a meeting again in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whenever it was, then some things may be able to wait. Maybe this proposal, I would like to think we don't have to take a whole half hour reviewing this proposal.
Right. We'll make that our goal to make sure that we're finished at 7:30. We'll make that the goal here.
All right, Rebecca, I just sent that to you.
Okay.
I am going to have Rebecca share it, guys, just because, yeah.
Okay. So now I'm refreshing my email. Now, did you send it to my personal address or to the city email?
I sent it to the email that comes up for you.
Okay. Oh, here. Okay. I got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So let's open that in Docs. All right. So I'm just going to share my web browser. I think you'll be able to see this. How does that look? Is that big enough?
That's great.
It's good.
It's too big. It's a little too big.
It's too big. Do I need to shrink that? I mean, there's the low, but how about the text?
It's good. The great writing is very good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you guys want to talk us through this?
Well, here's the aim.
Could this have been sent to us before tonight's meeting to review? Is that legitimate?
Good question.
Because I would have loved to be able to read
Right.
it actually,
Right.
or just, like skipping
Right.
it now and
Right.
giving the, attention it deserves.
Right. I know, you're very right. I mean, Myra and I edited it over the last month, and then we finished editing it last night, actually. But
But even to have it this morning, just to have it to
Right.
look at that, we'll be discussing, that kind of thing.
I sent it. Oh, no, I guess I didn't send it to Deb and Patty until.
Well,
Yeah.
I saw you sent a message, Emily, but then there was nothing attached.
Right.
Was there? Okay.
Yeah, no, it wasn't attached because I can't
Okay.
figure it out with my phone when I'm at work.
Okay. Okay.
So does it make sense then to give everybody a chance to look this over?
I actually think we should be timely because we haven't, our next meeting is going as one topic. And the changes that were made aren't drastic. It's a document that you've seen before with some slight wording changes. And we worked on those wording changes yesterday. I believe the previous event was presented even without a document presented, rather it was an idea. So we were moving in line that we can discuss this as an idea and you can view it as a committee.
So Deb, what are we looking to do here? Are we looking to, because obviously, there's still some questions out there. So are we voting on this proposal tonight, or are we telling them they're on the right track? And
Well, I'd like to be able to read it. I only see paragraph 1. I'd like to be able to see it before we even look.
Can I just finish?
Okay.
I appreciate that. I would like to read it too. I'm just trying to figure out what our process here is.
Okay. Well, why don't we have them send it out to all of us for review, and we'll plan to discuss it at our meeting, the first meeting of the month. Does that make sense? Since we're already at 7:10 and everyone can't see it or read it right now?
Yeah.
Well, I could read it now, except that I can't control whether I can get off of the first paragraph.
Yeah. Are you ready for, I'm sort of waiting for somebody to tell me to scroll, because what do I don't know.
It's not that lengthy. If you scroll, I can read it.
Okay.
Wow, that would be great.
All right. So shall I start with AIM
So-
then?
Then why don't we start with AIM and then I'll minimize the grid view. AIM is with the aim of creating a platform to learn and engage in productive and respectful communication and more constructive interaction. The Community Relations Committee will host a facilitated 90-minute online event. This event will seek to address issues and barriers related to communication and inter-community interactions as outlined in the City Spirit Report, June 20th, 2018. This will be a foundational event for corrective actions and increased positive engagement in the community. The report's findings, as listed below, have served to continue the marginalization of minority populations, including immigrants and newer residents of the city. Our aim is to begin the journey of changing this dynamic with more openness and acknowledgement of racism, hostilities, and their community impact. The historical context. According to the City Spirit Report,
Sorry, Robert, can I just interrupt for a second? Is the historical context the same as it was in the last
no.
document?
It's mainly the same. I don't think I need to go through all the bullets.
Yeah, I was just going to suggest that. That's all.
All right. So I'll just read the first part, and then the bulleted part you can probably see on your own. I know Deb cannot see them, but they're basically the same. So historical context, according to the City Spirit Report, June 20th, 2018, the U.S. Department of Justice Community Relations Service report, which led to the proposal for the development of the CRC. 6 separate but often related problematic issues exist in Easthampton. Participants in the Spirit process broke into 4 groups to discuss these issues and prioritize them. The 6 issues were listed as the following. And these are the ones that you have seen before: us versus them, new guard versus old guard, and unconscious bias, resistance to change, unwelcoming environment for LGBT and gender nonconforming individuals, income inequality and high cost of living, affordable housing, and it goes on. Racism, ethnocentrism, anti-immigrant sentiment, feeling unwelcome environment for LGBT and non-conforming individuals, and lack of community engagement off social media. And from the report, sorry.
Myra, there's a repeat, the unwelcome environment for LGBT, because there's only going to be 5.
Oh, you're right. There is.
Yeah, you're right.
Thank you for picking that up. So, so that's something that needs to
get corrected.
That in a document. And then you'll notice that we bulleted some of the concerns that were the relevant concerns that were related to communication and interaction. Some of them were taken directly and some were inferred. It's not an exhaustive list and no particular order of prioritization. And many of them remain the same. They're taken from the Spirit Report. So I don't feel like I'll need to take too much time to go over them, but they relate to communication, interactions, feelings of exclusion, etc.
Mm-hmm. Are we good? Yep. Do you want to scroll?
We're good. We can scroll.
Okay.
The purpose of this online event is to foster and/or enhance communication skills with a focus on developing both sincere listening and respectful expression within the community of Easthampton. This event is seen as an initial foundation to engage in future difficult conversations in line with issues and concerns identified in the City Spirit Report. Again, this is remaining the same, I believe. The target audience and estimated participants, in keeping with the Spirit process, the target audience of this online event is a diverse cross-section of Easthampton. This cross-section seeks to include representation from municipal leaders, community leaders, business owners and employees, and general residents, homeowners, renters, houseless persons across a wide demographic of identifications, including age, race, religion, sexual orientation, gender identity, language, immigration status, and social economic status, and the recommended number of participants is approximately 40 to 60, which remain the same. Our method is a lecture and presentation with hopefully facilitation of small group interactions between participants, and a collective report out and listening section. And our learning objectives, I do believe, are the same that were presented to you last time. And our overarching objectives, our participants will understand that respectful communication improves the health of community. Number 2, attendees will develop enhanced communication skills by actively participating in facilitated small group exercises with their fellow community members and fellow residents. Number 3, participants will see that communicating across differences reduces community silos and can lead to increased interaction and humanization of others and overall improved sense of community. Participants to get to hear and better know their neighbors. You can scroll up. And the last one, in respect to us, is that this event will introduce the CRC to the city as a functional committee, which fosters positive interaction across differences. We will measure the success and learning outcomes through getting participant feedback, and that will potentially done by survey. We do not yet know the financial impact, but it will probably be the cost of the presenter and event advertising. We've given ourselves some deadlines, if you can scroll up, which we are been trying to do. But our first action is to bring the proposal to the CRC for approval, which was accomplished on December 15th. Now we're on the revision step, which is the today. And if we are able to vote on that, then our next step is to seek organization and institutions to facilitate. And we do have set up criteria for our preference, which are organizations that are diverse, organizations familiar with the context of Massachusetts, Western Massachusetts, and Easthampton, and organizations with a track record for online interactive formats. So we hope to get back to you sometime in February, but we do welcome suggestions from the entire committee. And once we do get that information, we will be able to come back with review cost analysis, and these are our next steps.
Great.
And that is the end.
That's super.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Looks really good.
So I just want to go back to my question, Deb. So are we approving this proposal and then saying, go forth and, go to the next step here? Do we need to vote on that or?
Well, what we could do is we don't even necessarily have to have an official vote. Like, I really appreciate hearing all that, and it sounds great to me, but I would love the opportunity just to be able to read it, and see it and to just digest it all better, being able to look at it myself with my own eyeballs. I guess just hearing it, sometimes it's hard to digest all of it, but it sounds fabulous to me. But I'm just wondering, how about if I'd like to propose that we just at this point ask for some quick feedback, comments on this, and then number 2, let's just check in with everybody to see, are we feeling comfortable about this generally moving forward as is? Maybe there's a word tweak somewhere, or maybe there isn't, I don't know. But are we overall feeling really comfortable with this direction and moving forward based on all this information that we heard tonight? And look for it doesn't have to be an official vote, but look for approval to just move forward and consider this on the right path, and we're moving in the right direction and moving on from here. Does that sound good? So what I'm suggesting is let's just have an informal check-in to see if everyone feels good about this and feels good about moving forward with what we've heard tonight. And then also just share it with everybody, have everybody have the opportunity to read it more carefully and thoroughly, just to see if there's anything, after people have had the opportunity to digest it a little bit more, if there's anything like anyone had a comment about a phrase or a word or anything that there'd be an opportunity to provide some input on that. It's not, the book is not completely closed, is what I'm trying to say, just so people have a chance to digest it a little bit more. Does that sound fair to everybody? Does that sound good?
Yes.
Okay, so right now I'll just call for, does anyone have any comments that they want to make at this point in time for feedback or observations or anything that they want to share based on what they've heard tonight? Does anyone have any general comments to share?
Yeah, I do. This is Mary Lou. I want to thank Myra and Emily for the amount of time that you put into this. It looks really good. The only thing for the financial impact, I'm not sure whether Easthampton Media may also charge for their services, for an event like this, that might be a cost. I don't know how they work, and for a special event like this, if it's something that they charge for or not. Deb, do you know?
Well, I was just thinking, Mary Lou, I was vaguely remembering the last time when we were communicating with them about the forum before. I remember she said something about that I thought she said that they covered that. They'd be happy to do it. And there was some other comment. I guess I'd have to go back and look at notes. I don't remember. I think in general
I don't remember either. I don't think it was very clear whether they would charge for it or not. But that might be no cost.
Have the impression that they don't, but there might have been some component that was going to be related that we would have to pick up the cost, is what I'm vaguely remembering. But I need to go back and look.
We could make, I think a phone call to them would probably be,
Yeah.
We could find that out.
Clear that up. Mm-hmm. Right. And we're also waiting to hear from the mayor, which we can follow up with the mayor regarding the budget, because she thought she would have some clarity around what we'd have available for funds after the first of the year. So we can follow up there too. I
want to piggyback on that. I really appreciate this. I think it looks great. I think the language is terrific. I think it's very well thought out. And I think it would be like a forum I would like to go to. So thank you.
Yeah.
It's taken a lot to get here, but I think it was worth the work.
I agree with you, Patty. I agree with you, Patty. And also the thing that you said, Rebecca, which I think would be, I don't know, it was said it wasn't really said in jest, but about how, one of our goals is to have people in Easthampton enjoy talking about race. I think
this is based on a title. In fact, it's right here. How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love Discussing Race. And it's from Hampshire College. How about that? We may or may not appreciate that. But I appreciated the video, which I'll email a link to everybody in a way, instead of, I think the object is to notice what things get said or what behaviors fall flat or offensive or divisive, as opposed to the human being and whether the person is good or not. Because a lot of times people get defensive and that gets in the way of having those conversations across differences.
And Rebecca, I did see it. I did listen to it, saw it, and I think it's well worth spending the time. It's not that long. So spend the 10 minutes listening to it.
Right. Oh, yes. Okay. I guess it was within those other materials. I forgot that, but I just gave you screenshots, so you might not have had the link. Anyway, shall I go back to the document?
Yes.
Let's see. The trouble with changing, let's see, where did I have that? There we are.
So does anybody else have any comments? Thoughts?
Okay. Can we take an informal, well, I can't see anybody, but do you have to, like, already, raise your hand if you feel like that we're on the right track. This looks like a good direction. You're feeling good about it. We can move forward, and they're going to share it with us. So we'll have a copy of it. People generally feel good about moving forward at this point based on everything you've heard.
Here, let me stop share so we can see each other.
Yeah.
So I thank you so much for the changes. So yes, my hand says I feel good about it.
Margaret, yes.
Okay, so everyone's looking like they approve.
Yes.
I think so.
Okay.
I don't see any shaking heads. So yeah, nodding.
Okay, so then we can take a formal vote on it at one of our upcoming meetings, and just to formalize that when people have had a chance to read it and really digest. But it sounds like great. People are feeling good about this and excited, and it's wonderful. So thank you very, very much, Emily and Myra, for all your hard work.
Yes,
Okay,
thank you. You guys did a great job.
So Emily and Myra, you'll send that out so we all get a copy of it, correct?
Yes.
Emily and Myra?
Thank you.
Okay,
Yes,
you'll send it out.
I think Emily has the latest version of it. So I'm sure she's there. And thank
Emily, can you
for
send it out to all of us?
Sure. Yep. I'm fixing
Okay,
the thing.
Okay, and then we'll do it. And so Emily and Myra, feel free to continue to proceed. And Jan, maybe you'll get involved too, like going forward. Feel free to proceed with your next steps, and we will do a formal vote next time we're together, but we're feeling excited about this. It's great. Okay, so moving on real quick, we're going to wrap this up in the next 3 minutes. Just a quick update on our outreach, Community Relations Committee outreach status of website, et cetera. I just wanted to give you a quick update. So I submitted a whole bunch of requests for our web page based on stuff that we've discussed here at our meetings. And basically, I was told by Lindsay Naylor, who works in the mayor's office, that the technology director had recently resigned, and they were in process of trying to completely change the website for the city. So given those two things, she was saying that basically our requests were going to have to be put on hold until the staffing situation had been resolved, and they're working on a new website, and then they would dive into making the changes and requests that we had put forth. And so interestingly enough, though, I checked about a week ago, and they did make a bunch of the changes I had requested, but there's still a bunch that weren't made. And so when I followed up with her again, just to see where things stand, since it had been about a month since we'd last communicated about it, and she said that basically they just can't do much right now because they still don't. Their staffing issue is still really tight, and it's all challenging for them right now. And that the new website isn't really going to be happening until it probably won't be launching until the summer sometime. So she's basically kind of putting me on hold with regard to any and all requests. She said they're having to deal with an awful lot with the school system to support all the technology for kids learning remotely. So I completely can understand that they're in a tough spot. But some of our changes were made, and just some are left to be done. And what's left to be done basically is I had submitted a bunch of documents and asked for a file to be placed on our webpage that was labeled incident reports and related documents. And the file itself doesn't exist, but some of the things I had sent are up, but some aren't. So some of I need to follow up down the road whenever we can, but she'll let me know when they're able to do more things with it. But so there's a few documents that I had submitted that aren't there. And she just put what she did put there, she just put as attachments. There's no folder created as I had requested. And the other thing that wasn't done is that we had requested a submit button on the bottom of our community input form so that it could go directly to us, and that didn't happen either. So I guess we just have to sit tight with our requests until they're in a better place to be able to handle some of it. So that's the update on that. I'm wondering, Alyssa, do you have anything to share, anything you wanted to say about Facebook?
Not really. I've just been mostly making sure, there's no messages, nobody's commented on anything. So just really, monitoring that. So nothing to report to you guys, nothing that we need to address. Just, keeping right now I'm just pretty much posting, when we have a meeting, what our agenda is going to be, anything you would be able to find on the website, just another avenue for people to be able to find it. But if there's anything, I know we're in the works of, our event. So definitely when we get things finalized, we'll be able to get those posted. If, when we finalize our statement, if we wanted to put that on the Facebook page, it's definitely something that, those are a couple things coming up that we'll be able to post as well. So just.
Yep. Great. Okay. Thank you. So let's quickly talk about our next meeting dates. We're going to do next Tuesday for a brief meeting to review the statement that Myra, Margaret, and Rebecca are going to be working on. And then how about if we plan to have our next regularly scheduled meeting on the first Tuesday of February? Does that work for everybody, which would be 1 week later?
Yes.
Does that work? I can't see anyone's faces.
This is Myra. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right,
This
so
is
let's
Margaret.
plan on,
I'm not sure that I can be there, but I'll try. I'll have to see.
is that Margaret?
Yeah, so
Yes.
that would be the first Tuesday in, what is that, the 2nd of February?
Right, 2nd of February, which is what we were
Yeah.
started out saying we were going to try to make that our consistent meeting time. Was we got a little messed up at the holiday time, but we were going to try to work on it being the first Tuesday of the month and potentially the 1st and 3rd if we needed, depending on how many meetings we need in a given month, but make that our consistent plan.
Excuse me, Deb, I gotta go. I will see you
Okay.
next week. Thank you,
Okay.
everyone.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
So,
All right, so
do I need to make you
we'll-
back?
okay, so we'll just
I-
confirm.
Yeah, I think if you quit, it will assign the host, but it's probably safer to choose the host.
There you go. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
All right. Take care.
Okay, so we're good. We'll see everyone on January 26th at 6 p.m.
Mhm.
And that'll be brief, and then we'll meet again on Tuesday, February 2nd at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Yes? Good.
Yes.
Okay. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? All right, well, we'll do the
Aye.
roll call. Rebecca?
Yes.
Patty's already gone. Okay, Emily Brighton.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, Margaret?
Yes.
Mary Lou?
Yes.
Alyssa?
Yes.
Jan?
Yes.
Myra?
Yes.
Gabby?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. I'm sorry for the delay at the beginning, and I'm sorry for this my weird situation here. Sorry. Anyway, thank you very much.
Well, thank you for your work and thanks for being here.
Yes.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care. Take care. Everyone.
Okay, we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.